Today we're talking about a game that PlayStation has been pushing for quite some time now, and it is a pretty big sci-fi game coming out this year. And that game is Saros. Now if you've never heard of Saros before, don't worry, you're not alone, because PlayStation and Housemarque have been keeping this one pretty quiet, but what they have revealed is enough to get people hyped, confused, and honestly a little scared. Saros looks like one of those games where you're going to be dodging alien bullets, fighting nightmare creatures the size of apartment buildings, and questioning your entire existence all at the same time. So today we're breaking down everything you need to know, including the story, the setting, gameplay clues, the protagonist, the Returnal comparisons, and many more. And if you did like Returnal, you might want to pay attention because this game is very similar. So let's get right on into it, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for all the gaming news, reviews, and analysis.
What is that for you, Arjun? Finishing the mission. Keeping people safe. Oh, Arjun. I know you better than that.
So first off, Saros is an upcoming single-player sci-fi action game being developed by Housemarque, the same studio that did make the Returnal game. And if you don't know Housemarque, they've been around for a long time, but Returnal was basically the game that put them into the "oh, this studio's legit" kind of category. They're known for fast-paced arcade-style action, but Returnal proved that they can also create something bigger. A cinematic game with insane atmosphere, along with mystery and brutal difficulty. Now Saros is being published under PlayStation Studios, meaning Sony is backing it as a first-party exclusive. And yes, Saros is confirmed to be a PlayStation exclusive. No Xbox, no Switch, no PC, at least right now. We all know that's been all over the place recently. And now based on what we heard so far, Sony is absolutely positioning Saros as one of those premium next-gen experiences. Now Housemarque is not the type of studio that makes safe games. They make games that feel like you're fighting for your life every 5 seconds. Their combat system is usually fast, aggressive, and extremely responsive. They love bullet hell mechanics where enemies throw waves of projectiles at you, and the players has to survive by movement, timing, and precision. And again, Returnal is probably the best example of that. And even though everybody kind of had different feelings about Returnal because of its road-like structure and difficulty, one thing that pretty much everyone agreed on was Returnal's gameplay was incredible. So when Housemarque announces a new sci-fi action game, people immediately pay attention because this isn't just some random studio trying to make a space shooter. They kind of know how to make combat feel addicting. Now Saros takes place on a planet called Carcosa, and if that name sounds familiar to horror fans, it's because Carcosa is a name tied to cosmic horror and surreal fiction in general. So even just the name alone already tells you what kind of vibes we're dealing with here. Carcosa in Saros is shown as this hostile alien world filled with storms, ruins, strange structures, and this overall feeling like you should not be there. Like the planet itself looks angry. And the biggest visual that we've seen across multiple trailers is this whole theme of an eclipse. There's this ominous dark celestial object hanging in the sky, and it looks like the world is basically trapped into a constant state of darkness and chaos. So immediately, Saros gives off that same Returnal energy where the world isn't just a setting. The world is like an enemy. And that's something that this studio does really well. It's like an atmosphere. Now story-wise, we unfortunately don't have the full plot yet, but we do know kinda some of the basics. You play as a character named Arjun Devraj, and Arjun appears to be some kind of soldier, operative, or explorer. Basically, someone trained for combat. He's stranded on Carcosa, and something about this place is just deeply wrong. And from what we could tell, Saros is leaning into themes like isolation, memory, cycles, identity, and survival. Because Saros feels like it's building on that same style of storytelling where you're not just getting cutscenes spoon feeding you everything. Instead, you're uncovering pieces from a larger mystery, slowly realizing that the situation is bigger than what you ever thought it could be. And the eclipse seems to play a major role in the lore. It feels like the eclipse is more than just a skybox decoration. It seems like a force, like it's affecting the planet. Maybe it's controlling the creatures. Maybe it's causing time loops. Maybe it's the reason Arjan can't escape. But whatever it is, Saros is absolutely setting up that same cosmic nightmare vibe where you're fighting monsters while slowly realizing you might be trapped in something beyond your understanding. Now let's talk a little bit about our protagonist. Returnal has Celine, and she was an awesome character, but the game's storytelling was very symbolic and abstract. With Saros, it looks like Housemarque is going even harder into cinematic character-driven storytelling. So Saros might have a more direct narrative approach compared to Returnal, not necessarily less mysterious, but maybe more personal and more emotionally grounded. Because if Sony is putting this on the same shelf as like God of War or The Last of Us or something, they're definitely going to want characters that connect with the story. So Arjan is definitely going to be a major focus. So as far as gameplay, this is where things are, more action-packed and exciting. From what we've seen so far, Saros appears to be a third-person action shooter. And yes, it looks very similar to Returnal style of gameplay. We see fast movement, dodging and dashing, intense combat effects, alien enemies, and potentially large-scale boss fights. And again, don't mean to keep mentioning Returnal, but if you play Returnal, it's gonna look very, very similar. It's the kind of combat where standing still for more than like half a second is basically suicide. Enemies are going to be launching projectiles, tracking attacks, area explosions, and you're going to be weaving through it like it's a deadly dance. But that's what makes the game feel different. They're not just making a generic cover shooter. They're basically making a game where like movement is life. So now the question that a lot of people are asking about is Saros a roguelike? And to be honest, we don't really officially know yet, but there are definitely clues. The entire tone of Saros feels like it's dealing with cycles, repetition, and being trapped. The studio is very clearly leaning into that theme again. However, there's also a strong belief that Saros might be a little more accessible than Returnal, because Returnal, as much as people loved it, also had one major criticism. It was brutal. If you died, you could lose a ton of progress. Runs could take hours, and if you got unlucky with item drops, it could feel unfair. So Saros might have that like loop concept, but it could also include more permanent progression systems, because we all love that in a roguelike. Maybe you can keep upgrades, maybe you can unlock abilities permanently, maybe there's stronger campaign structure. Basically, it might take the Returnal formula and evolve it into something more mainstream without losing the hardcore combat identity. And if that's true, that's a win. Because the best part of roguelike games is the gameplay, not the punishment. From what we've seen so far, the creatures look a mix of biomechanical monsters, alien horror designs, corrupted beings, a giant towering entity. The enemies are like nightmare art pieces that move too fast and you want dead. And I'm expecting Saros' boss fights to look absolutely ridiculous, especially if it's anything like Returnal. Saros comes out April 30th, 2026, specifically on PS5. The reason why Saros is such a big deal is because PlayStation doesn't have many games like this. Sony has a lot of cinematic third-party action games, but not too many that are aggressive and arcade-inspired. Returnal was unique and it stood out. Saros looks like it could be the next major release that will fill this kind of gap in Sony's lineup. And if sci-fi kind of action games is your cup of tea, then Saros would probably be perfect for you. The foundation is definitely there. I'm just hoping that they could have, the right balance of story and heavy gameplay. It looks like Housemarque is taking what made Returnal special, the speed, the intensity, the atmosphere, the cosmic horror, and they're building something bigger, more cinematic, and potentially more approachable. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you excited for Saros? Do you want it to be more like Returnal? Or do you want it to be something that's completely different? In my opinion, I think it's going to be a little mix of both. I hope you guys liked this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you like gaming, because we kind of talk about a little bit of everything here. Pause for now, play forever. AK out.